is the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast.
Hey there, hi there, ho there, it's me, the Celebrity Medium, back with another episode of the Celebrity Afterlife Report. The only show on the internet, or as far as I know anywhere, the only show, period, that gives you the up-to-the-minute gossip about all your favorite deceased celebrities. Oh, we have stuff to tell you this week. We have one more show to do before we take a break for the end of the year holidays. Let's start messing around. Let's stop messing around. Let's get right to the stuff, shall we? Okay, the big meeting we've been waiting for has happened. I've been telling you for months now that actor Don Knotts from the old Andy Griffith show, he played Deputy Barney Fife. He has been working out like a madman in the afterlife, and Don was always very skinny, and now he's buff. He's still not a tall guy, not a big guy, but he's buff, I'm told. He's got muscles on muscle. He's got muscles where people don't even have places. That's how buff he is. So Don Knotts has been wanting to revive the Andy Griffith show for some time now, and when Andy Griffith arrived in the afterlife, Don had a meeting with him, and according to sources, Andy was kind of startled by how Don looks these days, and apparently privately thought there was no way they could do the old show over because he doesn't look anything like he did when he was playing Barney Fife. And he kind of blew Don off politely, said, yeah, let me think about that, you know. But now Gomer Pyle, Jim Nabors, is in the afterlife too. And Don sent a representative to talk to Jim. Jim did not know what Don looked like these days. So he said, oh, I'd absolutely love to play Gomer Pyle again. So at least verbally, he's in. Okay, now here's the deal. They're going to shoot the show, if they are going to shoot the show, on the grounds of Disney's American Experience, which was formerly the front half of Mediopolis, a joint deal between Steve Jobs and Walt Disney. They had a little falling out. Jobs took over the back end of it, which is now sort of the R&D, high-tech hub for the next world, and Disney runs the front end, which kind of looks, I'm told, like the Main Street USA and Disneyland and Disney Worlds, that kind of thing. Didn't really work out as the tourist attraction Disney was hoping for, so now he's touting it as a set for movies and television shows. Don Knotts thinks it's perfect to be Mayberry for the new show. All right, so Don Knotts has now met Jim Nabors. Apparently Nabors is like, despite the way Don looks now, he's still on board with playing Gomer Pyle in the new show. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Don is in, Jim Nabors is in, and Andy Griffith was approached by somebody again representing Don Knotts, and Andy has said, all right, I'll do the show as long as I can tape all the segments that I'm in for one season in a one shot. I don't have to come in like every week. You have my scenes ready to go for the whole season, and I can just bang them out one after another. Which, if you remember the old My Three Sons show, if you're old enough to remember that from the 60s, Fred McMurray was the star of that. That's kind of the way he did his shows. He would do all his scenes for a month's worth of shows in like a day or two, and then he would go goof off for the next 3 weeks. Now, why Andy Griffith is asking for that is not yet known, and we may never know, but that's what he said. I'll do it if and only if I can do all my segments in one straight session. Okay. Charles Manson, as you probably know, arrived in the afterlife a few weeks back. He immediately told David Cassidy, who I think got there, David Cassidy got there about 10 days after Manson. Manson said, I'd like to go on the road with you performing. You could be my opening act. Gee, no surprise, David said, no. He didn't tell him right to his face, but did tell somebody in the press, I'm not going to be doing that. But Charlie did an interview the other day with a leading Next World newspaper in which she, as you would expect, rambled about a large variety of topics, including, of course, how he was completely innocent of the charges which put him in jail for the past 40-plus years. But in the midst of the gibberish, there was a nugget of gold. He said he never invited David Cassidy to play with him, which is a flat-out lie. There were several witnesses to it. And then he went on to say he was already lining up performance venues for what he's calling his Manson family reunion tour. And we do know that he's been in touch with at least one or two of the women who were in the so-called Manson family. Now, whether he's actually lined up performance venues or it's just one of his screwball fantasies, we don't know, because who the hell ever knows what's going on with Charles Manson. Anybody in the afterlife who was hoping for a reunion between Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, I'm sorry to say, is going to be disappointed. Now, several weeks back, when Jerry Lewis arrived in the Next World, the two of them met and they did an interview with a reporter, and they looked really super happy to be together again, and everything was going really well, and they were talking about, going on the road doing their old act, because, as you'll recall, everyone in the Next World looks as they did at their adult best, and they were at their adult best in the late 50s, 60s when they were working together. So they were, it looked like it was ready to go. Well, the reporter asked Jerry Lewis about this legendarily bad movie, The Day the Clown Cried, that he made, that's never actually been released to the public. Lewis went nutso on the writer over the question. He just started berating him. What are you asking me about that for? You know that I've kept that movie out of public circulation. Why would you do that? And he really was kind of rude, and that visibly, apparently, embarrassed Dean Martin. So we have finally gotten official word that the two will not be working together, at least in the foreseeable future, and that's obviously coming from Dean Martin. There was a press release that was very, very circumspect, but word from Martin's camp is that he was absolutely disgusted by Jerry's behavior at the interview, and he has told friends he will never work with Jerry Lewis again. Okay, now we've been telling you for weeks that Stanley Kubrick's movie that he shot in the environment. I've been able to pronounce that for years now. Why am I suddenly tripping over it? Environment. Long story. Go back in the archives. You'll find out how Steve Jobs built this indoor water attraction because it does not rain in the Next World. And a whole lot of things happened, and eventually artists Jean-Michel Basquiat and Salvador Dali took it over. They built this crazy translucent sphinx out of some kind of wiggly jello-like material that was going to figure into a movie they were making, but they didn't know what the hell they were doing when it came to movie making. So famed and acclaimed director Stanley Kubrick came in, and he said, let me take it over. I want complete creative control. I'll get it done. They signed that over to him, but then because he had creative control, he forced them out. He said, I'm going to make my own damn movie. So the movie is called Obsessive Behavior. It has come out now. Some people are saying it's absolutely brilliant, including Roger Ebert. You remember from Siskel and Ebert at the movies? Roger Ebert says it's the best thing Kubrick has ever done. Other people say it's an inscrutable mess. But the movie is out right now, and because it's got some acclaim, the partnership between Basquiat and Dali is strained. Basquiat is still mad, understandably, at Kubrick over the takeover of the facility and the movie, but Dali, ever the publicity hog, is going around telling anybody who will listen that he was the inspiration for the entire thing, that Kubrick could not have made the movie without knowing Dali. Dali is the one behind this movie. It should be called Dali's Obsessive Behavior. All this kind of crap. So, Basquiat and Dali are on the outs. Now, they both still co-own and operate Environment, but that could be changing. We don't know, because the boys are not getting along. And that is what I have for you today, my friends. I will be back next week, and then we'll take a 2-week break for the holidays. But next week, there will be another edition of the Celebrity Afterlife Report with even more up-to-the-minute gossip about all your favorite deceased celebs. if someone should ask, where can I find out what celebrities are doing in the afterlife? You can point them towards, because that question comes up a lot. You can point them towards iTunes. You can direct them towards the Google Play Store. You can tell them they can find it on YouTube. Or if they happen to live in Los Angeles, they can hear it on KCHUNG Radio AM 1630 Mondays at 1 p.m. on a show called Inspirado Projecto Radio. That's where you can find it. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you back here next week. I am the Celebrity Medium. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast. To ask a question about your favorite deceased celebrity, call 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-369-3732.
You're listening to Inspirado, Projecto, and KCHUNG Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, extraterrestrials and prophets, we are here on yet another episode of Inspirado Projecto, and today in the studio we are very blessed with these spirits in the studio today. Returning champions, Blythe Baines, and also Sterling Mire. We're going to really light up the radio waves today about synchronicities, manifestation of reality, all that great stuff that really, just imagine if this was actually the main kind of information that was out there in the world, in the media, and the news and everything. Can you just imagine how much nicer everyone would be to each other, how much more cooperation, how much people would be following the golden rule? Man, it would just be absolutely fantastic. So Blythe Baines, just to give you a little background here, she's a musician. We've played her music on the air before. And Sterling Mire she does the art of manifestation coaching for people on how to actually manifest things very quickly into their lives. And so I want to ask you first, Blythe, what was the first thing that really opened your eyes and made you decide to go, I'm going to start pursuing, the synchronicities, or these are important to me, or, what was the thing that made you decide to be a detective on this kind of thing?
So I got into manifestation by watching a couple of videos on the internet, and it said to kind of like start small, try to manifest a cup of coffee. And so I did that, and I put out the intention to get a free cup of coffee. And then that day, I ended up getting a free cup of coffee because I went to, a diner, and my friend ended up buying me one, and it was just this crazy thing. Because I didn't even, in my mind, it didn't even need to be that day. It could be like at any time that week. It was just, I'm like, it's just going to happen at some point, but it happened that day. And then the next day I was like, I want to manifest some free guacamole and chips. And I went to this, Mexican place, and they've never given me anything free before. And that day the guy was like, today it's free for you. So it was really crazy, and I was like, okay, this has to be real. And it was almost like, I don't know, like beginner's luck, the universe trying to show me this is real, so pay attention to it.
Well, what do you think was the next thing that you tried? Did you start going, bigger
definitely.
and bigger kind of loftier
I got really
ideas?
Into manifesting jewelry. I feel like I'm really good at manifesting jewelry because I think my desire for it comes from the soul and not the ego, and it comes from looking at the metals or the gemstones and like feeling like they have some spiritual properties to them and being like, this is a beautiful piece of art, rather than I want this so that people see me as having like a certain amount of status or like something like that. It's all very much from the lens of I appreciate this as an object. I think it's beautiful, and I think it has like spiritual value.
That's fantastic. Sterling, what was the first thing that really got you interested? Oh, can you just
the first thing that got me interested?
And wanting to, pursue it further, for instance.
Interested.
Yeah.
Well, that's a hard question to answer because all I remember, the earliest inkling to manifesting came when I was approximately 13, because I really wanted to understand life, and I figured if I understood life, I could have an extraordinary life. I understood how all of this works. So I started reading Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. It was given to me, a book that was given to me by my aunt, whom I call Miss Haight Ashbury. She was she was a leader in the Summer of Love in San Francisco. So she was very much, you know, she was hanging out with Timothy Leary and
Wow.
and Allen Ginsberg and, you know, and people like that. So she was herself was in an exploratory kind of mindset, you know, a mode. So I think that's why we connected, and she was able to donate that book to me, and I thought it was really interesting. But my problem came because the stories in there, the miraculous, magical stories that came out of that book was not only thrilling and inspiring and exciting and hopeful and wonderful and kind of effect it had on me, but unfortunately it was very frustrating too, because I couldn't figure out how to produce these kinds of results that were shared in this book. The stories that were shared in this book, I really tried to understand it. I tried to apply it to my life. It just wasn't working. I cried real tears to the picture of Dr. Maxwell Maltz on the back of the book. I cried real tears going, I don't understand this. I wish I did. It sounds great. I'm so frustrated and upset. Oh, God. Can Mr. Maltz come out from the dead and raise from the dead, like pour this information, come and speak to me in my sleep or something, and let me know what the heck I'm missing or what I can't figure out here? It was really kind of frustrating. And I was just recently, I was thinking about how I got what you resist persists by when I was riding my bike when I was 7 years old. I just realized that recently. So I was riding my bike, and I realized that the more that I resisted gravitating towards the wedge between the grass and the sidewalk, the more I resisted. Well, obviously I didn't want to gravitate to it, because if I did and got my bike stuck in it, I would fall over. So I noticed that as I'm looking at this groove and I'm concerned about going towards it and getting caught in it, the more I would. And then when I tried to let it be, pay no real attention to it, just kind of let it be and just focus instead on the sidewalk in front of me and everything in front of me, and just let that be, but just not think about it, I never gravitated towards this dangerous wedge. And that's when I realized I really got, like, what you resist persists. So if I was resisting gravitating towards it, I would. If I just stopped resisting it, allowed it to be, and focus on something else, I wouldn't.
That's incredible. So what point did you start feeling that the because you were saying in the book they weren't really giving you tools to really, you know, activate that magical power?
I just kept reading more things. I mean, you know, I was open to anything and everything I could find. I read, you know, all kinds of self-help books, of course. You know, I read autobiographies of people who had extraordinary lives in an effort to understand what was the common thread between them all that created this outstanding life. I did everything that I could. I went to seminars, and, you know, I watched PBS. And if there was a speaker on there, you know, I did everything and anything I could. But what I found was that everything that I stumbled upon, I felt like that there were holes or unanswered questions, and there was like dead ends, if you will. So I never really got that far, because there would be something missing. It wasn't really whole and complete, and then I would stop. I mean, because I would basically fail, and I would stop, and I'd get discouraged, And that's what started my own investigations. And that's what started me being in the inquiry of what does it take to have this secret recipe. Now, mind you, I did have experiments that were incredibly successful. Mind you, I did create some amazing things that were so extraordinary that I knew that if I just understood the equation here, I could do this more frequently and at will and consistently instead of being like this random thing that happens once in a while. And I'll give you a perfect example. When I was studying acting, because I went to high school performing arts in Dallas, Arts Magnet School, I studied drama, and I was accepted into that. When I graduated there, I then I had a full-time acting career in Dallas and then moved to Los Angeles to expand on that, to grow. And I ended up manifesting. One of my favorite actors was Gary Oldman, and I thought, God, if I could just talk to him about the craft, I think I really resonate with his style, and if I could just talk to him about the craft, I'd be able to, grow as an artist, and that would be so amazing. But hey, wishful thinking, right? Well, anyways, I manifested it almost immediately. And what was really extraordinary is that he came to my apartment, and he even said, my manager didn't want me to come here, and he was insisting that I shouldn't come, and we fought about it, and here I am. I'm here, and he goes, I don't even know how I got here. I don't know why I'm here. I don't do these kinds of things. I kid you not.
That's
incredible. The power of manifesting. That's the power. And he really did say that. He goes, I don't even know. I don't even do this. But we proceeded to have a wonderful afternoon talking about the craft of acting for at least, 3 hours. It was really awesome. And I was super grateful, and it was a wonderful experience. I got all my questions answered, about the craft, and my dream came true. So after that, I thought, if I could just figure this out, right? You know what they say, like if I could just figure this out and bottle it. Well, yeah, that's basically what happened. I said that I studied how I produced that result, and I realized what needed to come together, like a recipe. There needs to be these things present to produce this outcome, and it has to be done in a certain measure as well. I use an analogy of recipe because it's like you have these ingredients, but it's also important to have them in certain, amounts, or there's a bit of a balance when it comes to manifesting. It is an art form. And for instance, we need to know how much we focus on something and how do we also let it go and flow. So there needs to be a balance of focus, intention, and deep desire, and also letting it go and flow, with faith, because we human beings tend to be so extreme. So what do? We focus, right? And then it becomes obsessive, and then we're resisting, and what we resist persists, and it just becomes this messy trap. So we have to figure out a way to focus with that desire and let it go, and also create faith as you're letting something go and being profoundly present in the moment. All of which is very easily done. I have figured out how to manage 80,000 thoughts a day. I figured out, how to make this balance or create this balance easily and effortlessly in my system, which is why I tell people it's like a no-brainer. You don't even have to understand it. You don't have to think about it. You just do this. Don't even think about anything else. Just do these things. think less, do less, and your life will fall into place effortlessly. And then you'll be like, oh my God, because it'll be exponential learning, and you'll finally get it, and you'll go like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to live any other way. I didn't even know this is possible. I didn't even know this is, that this was available, was even an option. It's almost like this dimension I didn't even know existed. It's like it's something that I didn't know that I didn't even know existed. This is amazing, and I'm never going back again. So that's what's really cool about discovering it, because you realize, oh my God, I don't have to exert the effort that I've been exerting, spinning my wheels, going nowhere, running around like a chicken with its head cut off. I don't have to work hard like everybody told me to, with blood, sweat, and tears. I don't have to think, a tenth of what I've been thinking, with my brain just scrambled. I mean, it's amazing how much the chit-chat and everything that goes on in the mind, and the analyzing and the judging and the opinions and the criticisms and just all this overthinking. You realize you don't need one iota of it. You don't need it for anything. You really don't. It's amazing.
So, I love the fact that you said that you actually work less at it, you think less of it. Now, with Blythe, for those astounding manifestations that you had in that beginning time, it sounded like you really didn't give too much thought to it. It sounds like you were like, what, I'd like to try this and let's see what happens kind of thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the thing is I didn't put a lot of importance on a cup of coffee because, who's going to put that much importance on a cup of coffee? And, same thing with guacamole and chips. I'm like, I believed that it could happen, but I didn't need it to be happy. I could be in that, good vibrational state without the coffee or without the guacamole and chips. And I think that that's one of the reasons that they came so quickly. And then I realized that it is a formula for like everything, that if you don't put something on a pedestal, if you believe that you can have it, you trust in the universe, you're completely present, you focus on your vibration, and just being positive, being like nice, giving what you want to get, it really does happen.
I love it because, rarely are folks taught to actually look at the language that they're using, really examine the language that they're using, really examining the thoughts that are in their brains. And, because it's just banging around out there. But I think you're held accountable to it, aren't you, when it's right there in front of you and that reflection is staring at you going, these are all the limited thoughts that you're carrying around with you time and time again. And do you still wonder why your life is going haywire? We got it all right there.
Yeah, no, it's just a bunch of recycled thoughts that keep on creating your reality. And you realize that once you shift just one little thing and you consistently have it changed, your reality will change also.
Now, so with your songs, it sounds like you're putting this great wisdom into your music.
With a lot of
You're infusing it in
I
there?
would definitely say that it's a strong theme. Yeah, because I realized the importance of being able to put the spirituality stuff out there, but not have it be so spiritual sounding that the mainstream can't understand it, or that they won't want to listen to it. So I think that I've tried to figure out a balance between mainstream and the spiritual.
Well, it seems like you weave it in metaphors, which I think is a beautiful way of doing it, because it's like it's in there. It's an ingredient that's packed into the sandwich that nobody's expecting to taste. You go, what is that secret sauce?
Yeah, no, like I definitely, it's funny because with songwriting, I feel like it is kind of channeled. I never write before I go into a session. I just go into a session and my producer starts making a beat, and sometimes I'll be like, I'm feeling this kind of vibe today, and he'll start, producing to it. and I just come up with the lyrics, I come up with the meaning, and it usually takes a very short amount of time. So,
well, having said that, I'm going to play this song, and then I'm going to talk to you about it after. We're going to talk about this afterwards, because this just very miraculous that we'll let the listeners understand why I think this is miraculous, and we'll talk about it when we come back here. So, this is called White Rabbit with Blythe Baines featuring a special artist. Let's see if you can guess who it is. All right. So, as one could imagine, this is quite intriguing. One could imagine, how the heck did you get Snoop Dogg to? Because well, first of all, how long have you been putting this music together?
Okay, so I started. Okay, I think I released my first song in late 2017, and I didn't even consider taking it seriously, like doing music as a serious thing, until 2000 and must have been 2000, maybe it was late 2007. I'm trying to remember the timeline. I feel like when you're super present, timelines get really confusing. I have like the worst perception of time, but I think I put my first EP out in March of 2018. And yeah, that's kind of, the first thing that I did that was, really me being like, okay, I'm actually going to try this now.
So it started out with just a playful thing. I'm just going to create this. This is something I want to do.
Yeah.
And look how beautiful this is. Now, all of a sudden, someone like Snoop Dogg, where people go, how the heck would I ever get that guy on there? I mean, how did that come about?
Basically professional connections, which is, it's just been amazing because all the right people have kind of come into my life, including my manager, which, like, that story of just, like, the crazy synchronicity that went into me meeting him. Tell it again. Okay, so I had this friend, and he had a car, and it had gotten crashed into, and so he calls me up one day, and he's like, hey, could you drive me to the airport to pick up my friend? And I'm like, I don't like driving freeways, but you can drive my car if you want. And so he's like, okay, I'll meet you, and I'll drive. And so he meets me, he starts driving, and in Koreatown, he's like, we need to make a stop. And he's like, you should get out with me. I'm like, okay. And so I go into this guy's place, and it's just this guy playing video games, and I'm like, so where are you from? And turns out we were from the same exact place in Northern California. We're the same age. We knew all the same people. Literally at my grandma's 92nd birthday party, the neighbors knew them, the entire family, super well. My grandma's closest friend from the gym, because she's a very physically active, she's 93 now. But yeah, her friend from the gym knew the family. Because the brother, my manager's brother was her son's best friend, just all kinds of weird stuff. So it was definitely kind of a fated meeting. And we started working on music, and then we ended up getting the deal with Priority Records, which I'm so thankful for that, because it really did put me at a different level than I was at before.
You're talking about Carter? Carter, right?
Yeah, Carter.
Yeah.
And he was
so
on
he
the
was
show
the
last
video
time,
game guy that you ended up finding out you had all these Venn diagrams with.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Astounding.
And it was so crazy and so serendipitous. And, I just had all these producers trying to work with me, and I was, trying to do some other stuff. I was working on a business type thing, but it was just going so badly, and music was honestly going really well. And that one song that I had done that was, mastered in kind of radio quality, I had gotten it played on a couple different radio shows, and I got more yeses than nos when I was submitting it. And I'm like, that has to be a sign that, what I'm trying to do, because I think I should be doing, because I'm half Indian, and, Indians do business, that was not for me. Music, was what I love to do, and I love songwriting, and just being present with it has opened me up to the most amazing friendships, the most amazing business connections. It's been really wild.
God, that is so exciting. So Sterling, what was the first big stuff that you started manifesting when you started getting more of a handle on getting a better relationship with the universe and how you cooperate with it? What was the first thing where you're like, holy cow, this is just crazy?
Well, I think that for a while, especially around those acting days and everything, I was manifesting, but I wasn't really manifesting consciously. I still didn't understand the process enough to benefit from it on a consistent level. But I did. I mean, I made declarations. I would say I'm going to meet this person or this blah blah blah.
I would say the Gary Oldman, of course, right? That was probably the first big one. Did that inspire you to go, if I can get Gary Oldman, who knows what the heck else could happen?
I still limited myself because I didn't really I didn't have the faith that I understood how it all worked. But I did make those, I would make declarations to myself, okay, this year I'm doing da 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 da, or this is happening, or blah blah blah, and it happened. Actually, the next thing I do that popped into my head and that I do remember creating was one of my acting jobs got me discovered by a major record label, and they said, oh my God, we love her, she's amazing, can she sing, can she write? Well, no, I never tried anything like that before, although when I was like 6 years old, I used to sing in front of the mirror, and then I had a guitar. My dad was in a band, and he was a singer and a guitar player, and my grandfather wrote Accentuate the Positive and sold it to Johnny Mercer in the 40s. I mean, music
Accentuate
was
the
around.
Positive?
Uh-huh.
All right, keep talking. We're gonna play that song.
Music was around in my life. So when this offer came to me, I was like, well, this feels natural, even though I didn't have any professional background with it. So I said to myself, I'm going to go in this direction. I'm going to go take this opportunity with music if I can meet someone to work with who has a background in music, who's had some level of success, to collaborate with me. This is what I said, and to the universe, and who could be like a co-writer, kind of, help me along here, because I don't know if I can do this by myself. 2 weeks later, I was at this club, and I see this person, and I felt like there was like a spotlight over this person, and I felt like his eyes were silver. It was the most bizarre thing, really. And then we ended up talking and everything, and I swear it wasn't long after that, he said to me, and I did not tell him, he said to me, when I saw you, there was a spotlight around you and you had silver eyes.
He said this to you?
Yes. And I said, oh my God, that is so crazy. I said, I saw the same thing, and I wouldn't believe it it was unbelievable. Now, here's an even funnier thing. I went back to that club. There's no white lights there. It's all red lights. All red lights. So this was pure manifesting. And so we started working together, and I got another offer from, of interest from an A&R person from Interscope Records, and started working with them, and recording demos and things like that. And I had that song Manifestation, which we were just talking about, was actually not one that we ended up keeping, but we recorded a demo of it, but we never really produced it. And but it's funny because it was indicative of where I was going. This song about manifesting.
Gosh.
And it was like, manifesting is keeping me knowing versus, obviously just speculating. It's all about knowing. It's all about knowing. And the thing that I teach my clients is one of the big questions that people ask me is, they go, what's the essential key? What is the key? What's the most important active ingredient for manifesting? And here's the answer. You have to live as if that which you are creating for your future is happening right now. You have to live as if it is already so. So if you are creating abundance, go out, spend some money. You don't gotta spend millions of dollars. You don't have to get yourself in debt or anything, but go out and experience spending money with freedom. You see, with freedom. And, if you're really pinching pennies, and I've been there, trust me, it's like every dollar is valuable, or $5 is valuable. And, and so you watch everything. So go out and spend $5 as if it doesn't matter, or as if you have unlimited amounts of $5. Whatever you have to do that you feel safe, that you can conduct this experiment, then go for it. Then, do it. That it's an experiment. You've got to approach everything as an experiment. And if you're going to approach this experiment of spending like $5 freely, hey, if you fail the experiment, you can't find that freedom to connect to that abundance. It's okay. You can keep practicing, and there's no real loss incurred.
And the idea is to spend that money without that sort of buyer's remorse, without that because you got to do it with that vibe. That intention has got to go into the thing that you're buying, right? It's got to be
complete freedom.
I'm totally fine with this thing that I'm putting this money into right now.
If I really have abundance, if I really have unlimited money, then what would be my experience of going and buying this $5 item?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I would feel totally confident, like it was nothing, like this was paper, like this is meaningless paper. Like it's I mean, it's just like I got plenty of this and everything, and I would just do it and just like be completely relaxed and free and feel good and confident and secure. Okay, good. So that's how I feel. Okay, step into that. Go out there, experience it. I do this like, one of my pet peeves is getting like parking tickets, because I feel like I might as well just be like torching cash in my hands. I mean, I feel like I'm not getting anything out of spending this money, right?
Yeah.
So guess what I do now? Instead of being annoyed and seeing it,
how do you alchemize that? What do you do?
Oh my God! I just look at it and I go, "Oh right, okay, I got this parking ticket, and guess what? Something's going to come in, totally cover it, like free money or something, and it's not even going to matter or anything. This is totally handled. This is taken care of. This is ancient history, And then I just let it unfold and be.
I love it.
And it's true. Something always comes in, like some bizarre thing will come in that's totally unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was, I first playing around with manifesting money and everything, one of the first things that happened was really funny. I'd be in a crowded movie theater walking out, and on the floor would be $20, and I look around, nobody sees this money. Nobody sees it. No one. And I would just go and pick it up, and they still don't see it. This has happened. It happened in CBS. Oh my God, nobody's seeing this. It happened, and another, like, a hotel lobby, same deal. It was a convention, no one saw it, just there. I went into the Improv one night, $100 bill just laying on the floor. Nobody sees it. It's amazing how people aren't present to it. I'm in a crowd of people, but this just shows you where their attention's at. If they were creating that kind of abundance, they would have connected with it. It's energy. You're connecting with energy. You're generating energy. You're creating energy. You're connecting with like-minded energy.
God, I love that. Now, you're saying that your which family member wrote "Accentuate the Positive"?
My grandfather.
So your grandfather. Now, there are a couple of different versions here. I think I'm going to play. Is it all right if I play the Bing Crosby?
You can do.
Which is great, because we just saw the David Crosby. Is he? Do you think he's related to Bing Crosby?
No.
The Crosbys. All right, let's play this, which I think is phenomenal. The fact that he wrote "Accentuate the Positive," and look at that. That becomes part of the whole everything, and
it's crazy.
Okay, so here we go. Here's "Accentuate the Positive," and we'll be back.
To accentuate the positive feeling, mine it to negative, latch on to the affirmative, don't mess with Mr. In Between. You got to spread joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum, have faith or pandemonium, liable to walk upon the scene.
To illustrate his last remark, Jonah in the whale, Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything looked so dark?
Man, they said we better accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, don't mess with Mr. In Between. No, do not mess with Mr. In Between. Do you hear me?
Oh, listen to me, chillin' Anna. You will hear about the lemonade eliminating of the negative and an accent on a positive.
Gather round me, children, if you're willing, and sit tight while I start reviewing the attitude of doing right.
You gotta accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, don't mess with Mr. In-Between.
You got to spread joy
Up to the maximum,
bring gloom
down
to the minimum.
then
Otherwise,
Otherwise.
pandemonium liable to walk upon the scene.
to illustrate
Well, illustrate.
my last
You
remark.
got the floor.
Jonah
in the whale, Noah in the ark.
What did they say?
What did they say?
Say when everything looks so dark. Man, they said we better accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In-Between. No, don't mess with Mr. In-Between.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard Accentuate the Positive. By the way, you can call Jupiter. We are here on Jupiter. Call us at 561-203-9179, and you will get this phone here, and you can talk to us. We'll blast you on the air. 561-203-9179. And how crazy is that? Accentuate the positive, and that's all of what we're talking about here. The importance of doing that, paying attention to our language, realizing that we're casting the spells. So, Blythe, I want to ask you, do you think that you would, in the evolution of your music, would you add horns or like, an orchestral thing? Can you imagine it going in that direction?
Oh, that could be totally cool. Yeah, I'm very open to where it's going. Because I think it's important to evolve and not always stay doing the same thing. And I think so far there has been evolution. And I get messages on Instagram all the time saying, I see you evolving as an artist. And I love that. So I'm like, thank you. I'm glad that you guys see that. But yeah, I definitely want to evolve. And, at some point, an orchestral thing totally sounds cool. I'd be totally down for that.
Yeah, because it was quite surprising once the orchestra was behind Metallica. I remember my mom telling me about this. She goes, I just saw something on TV and Metallica had this orchestra. And I'm like, Mom, you were listening to Metallica? And she's like, it was so beautiful, honey. It was so beautiful. And the orchestra was up there and I'm going, wow. Like if my mom's listening to heavy metal, but with the orchestra, maybe I got to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
It's just amazing when something like that comes to play. I saw Danny Elfman at Hollywood Bowl that's just amazing when you see Danny Elfman do The Nightmare Before Christmas and you just hear the power, all those horns, and oh my God, there's just something that just fills your spirit. It's just amazing. Sterling, do you have any plans doing more music in the future?
No.
No? None? Especially after knowing what you know now and all the great knowledge you have? And
a lot of my music's been in television and commercials and movies, things like that. And it's great that I've been able to license my music to those outlets. At the moment, no. I really love the work that I'm doing, and I just completed a book which will be going public. So I really have a lot on my plate. I'm doing these amazing retreats. We are actually in the middle of organizing them.
Awesome.
With one of the rescue mediums. Now that TV show...
What is that?
Is a TV show that was a Canadian production based on Netflix. They did 8 seasons. There was something crazy, like over 80 shows, or anyways, this Allison, one of the mediums on there's 2 mediums that are the stars of the show, and she's incredible. She does a lot of energy work, and she's of course a medium, and what she does is she connects with earthbound spirits that have gotten trapped here through a traumatic sudden death. So she connects with them and helps them to move on to the next plane. She's incredible. She also is over 20 years Reiki master. Did I even mention that? Wow. Anyways, so we're going to be doing some really great, like, manifestation.
You're making a super team. You're combining forces with these
yeah.
superpowers. I love it.
And we're going to be doing this in the spring, and we're already taking people's, names and numbers and deposits and things like that. We're going to be going out to Joshua Tree, where it's one of the most powerful healing vortexes, the environment itself. And I will promise and guarantee people that in 3 days they're going to be walking out of there they're going to be walking into a completely different world. They're going to be completely different. It's really going to be like going to the Garden of Eden. It's going to be like heaven on earth. Wow. When they enter back into their lives. It's going to be so mind-blowing. It's so powerful. I mean, I am so excited because I know without a shadow of a doubt what I'm going to be witnessing. And it's going to be fantastic.
That's incredible. That is so cool.
So if anybody's ever interested that's listening, you can always just send me an email on the website,
and what would be
getyourlifenow.com.
Getyourlifenow.com.
Yeah, and if anybody's interested in that, just let me know. It's a limited spots. We're only going to be taking. It'll be probably no more than 10 people. It's going to be a pretty small group. I want it to be intimate, and I want everybody to have all the one-on-one attention and things like that. So it's really intimate.
That's fantastic. So how's your status so far with your literary agents and getting your book out there to the populace?
It's being considered right now, but guess what? It's summertime, so a lot of people are on vacation, and they'll be back sometime between like September and end of September. But I did discover that a lot of people are on vacation. That's fine. And but I'm getting really great feedback.
Great.
Really, really good feedback, and that's exciting. And so, yeah, I'm patient. I mean, I got a lot of stuff going on, so it's all good for me. That I have no problem being infinitely patient, like William Faulkner often espouses about, and Wayne Dyer. Got that from William, because it's really amazing what infinite patience actually accelerates the process of manifesting.
Wow. Because there's not that, when is it going to happen?
Right,
there's not forced or not.
Yeah, you're right, because you're not
revving the engine. You're not, yeah.
What you resist persists. People get caught in the trap of impatience.
Yeah.
And you're resisting what is so when you're practicing being impatient, and you're going to get more of what you don't want.
Blythe, how do you handle patience or impatience in that fashion?
I think I've always been a fairly patient person, because, yeah, especially with the manifestation stuff, I know that putting that desperation into it makes it harder to manifest. It makes it, honestly...
Yeah, pushes it away, right?
Basically, impossible to manifest when you're in that desperate state. So just being in the state of, like, I know that everything, I know that I can find the vibration and the emotion of everything in the current moment. I know I can be happy in the current moment. And just focusing on that and putting out the intentions, like a GPS, programming it in, forgetting about it, and focusing on the joy in the present moment. That's been, my go-to strategy that's really worked for me.
Now, I know you've expressed that you've put up on Instagram your moleskins.
Oh yeah, my
is out
moleskin journal.
So you've got a lot of stuff written in there. Do you have plans on publishing any of these insights that come to you, for instance?
I mean, that would be cool at some point. I think that as time goes by, once you rack up like a resume of, cool things that you've done, throughout time, people are more likely to take it seriously. I think that at this age, if I were to release, a book or something saying like, here's everything that you need to know about the world, people aren't going to take it as seriously as they would someone who has the age and the experience. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about getting older is you have the wisdom.
Well, also at the same time, what's also equally, I think, just as valuable is the idea that you are young and you do have these thoughts and ideas, and there are other folks who are around your age who are scrambling about, what am I going to do, what am I going to do? And if it is presented in a sense of like, hey, this is what I've learned, this is how it's helped me out, and plus, there's always more that you're going to learn no matter what. If you're 90 years old, there's still more that you're going to learn.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So that's the beautiful thing, that there's just constantly always this opportunity.
Yeah, life never stops giving you lessons, which is amazing because, you keep on seeing any kind of like subconscious blocks that you have until you get rid of them. You keep on seeing them in your life. And so it's really, a sign to, focus on that and to shift it. And once you shift it, you see it disappear, and you're like, wow, this is really amazing.
That's incredible. God, that is so incredible. I think if we could, it's interesting. There's this connotation that goes along with spirituality, like, oh, it's that woo-woo stuff. Oh, no, And people, a lot of times, they'll go, well, I'm very science-oriented. And then I say, well, do you realize that science? We're every single one of us is a scientist. We all have our hypothesis. We all experiment. We see what it is. Does the hypothesis match up with the field study that you've done? And so we're just because some of us don't have microscopes or telescopes doesn't mean that we're not scientists. Yeah. Every single one of us, the information that we find is valid. We don't need an entire room of peers to go, okay, yeah, because with that kind of stuff, it's like, by going, I only rely on science, it really, to me, in my brain, I just imagine it goes, and it turns it into this really narrow-minded thing that excludes all of the other possibilities that could kind of make their way into it. I mean, who's to say that some of these scientific studies, maybe they're working very skeptically, going, okay, well, I don't know if this is going to work. Well, they have no idea that they might actually be affecting the outcome of the experiment.
They're influencing it by being so skeptical. Yeah.
It's so intriguing. Now, so Sterling, you were talking about the ghosts or spirits. Actually, since you got the microphone right now, Blythe, first let me ask you, then I'll ask you, Sterling. What are your thoughts about, the idea of ghosts, the idea of those energies being trapped here? And
I think that at a certain vibration, ghosts and all that kind of stuff are definitely real, especially if you believe in them. If you have the belief in something strong enough, you will see it in your reality. If you're resonating at that same vibration. And so I think that, we were even talking on the podcast about elves in Iceland.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the Icelandic people, wholeheartedly believe in elves. They've seen them. And that's because you have this collective that's putting their belief into elves. And so, if you have a strong belief in ghosts and you're at that similar like vibrational frequency as the ghosts, chances are you're gonna have some weird ghost stuff happening in your life. I feel like.
Sterling, what are your thoughts? What do you think about these? Have you ever encountered spirits that you knew were spirits? You're like, okay, this is definitely, I'm talking to my grandpa right now, or whoever it may be.
Reminded me, we were talking about like elves or trolls or something. I remember recently, I kid you not, like 3 months ago, my mother told me she was playing in this creek when she was a kid, and she saw like a troll or an elf sitting there in the creek. I said, you've got to be kidding me. She's like, no. And I'm like, what? My mom's always seen into other realms and stuff, but it scares her, so she limits it, like she shuts herself off from it. Most of this was happening when she was young, and then she reached an age where like a young age, I want to say like 23 or whatever, and she just said no more, and she just kind of shut the door to it. But she said one day she was painting, and she was about 22, and she was painting, and she sees her husband poke his head out behind this chair, and like as if he was playing like peekaboo, kind of thing. This jokey, kind of mischievous peekaboo thing. And she was like, what is he doing, And, but he looked weird, though. He kind of had this sort of dark circles under his eyes, kind of weird. And so anyways, she goes and she goes into the bedroom, and he's sound asleep.
Well,
so clearly
whoa,
it
what?
wasn't him. Yeah, it was.
That's definitely a Twilight Zone moment right there. That's
totally,
Did she go run back out there, look behind the chair to see what the heck?
Yeah,
or she like, okay, let's shut the door and lock it.
Yeah.
It's time to go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh my God.
I've had lots of experiences myself with spirits and other energies, and often I lived in a place that was haunted, and what was really interesting, this is up in Beechwood, and all I can remember about that place when I was there, I was like, oh, I feel so anxious here, I feel so unsettled and upset, and I couldn't even read my books, like I couldn't focus or concentrate. And I go to the bookstore, I go to Book Soup on Sunset Boulevard, and I'm just reading through all these like history books and Hollywood books and things. Love to kind of thumb through the books there. And I come across this one book, and there's my house. Oh yeah, in this book. And I'm like, what? So I'm reading about it. It turns out that now I understood why it was haunted, because this energy was very upset and agitated, and would throw my records around the room, and throw postcards around, and throw breadcrumbs at my guest's face and stuff like that. And I didn't even eat bread, so I don't know where this came from.
They would just feel breadcrumbs on it, like, what is that on my face right now?
Like, something is like throwing this in my face. Like, what are you talking about? And they pick up these like little breadcrumbs. Someone's throwing this in my face, and I'm like, really? Oh my God!
Oh wait, so they'd actually see it on the ground. So it wasn't there before, but then all of a sudden there it was.
That's right. Yeah, I know. So I don't know where they were getting it from, because I didn't even eat bread.
Incredible.
So yeah. So anyways, I'm reading this story, and what happened was this screenwriter back in the 30s lived there with his wife, and she was a seamstress for the studios. She started having an affair with an actor named Paul Kelly in the 30s, and Paul Kelly and her husband got on the phone together, and it was a shouting match, hey, how dare you, have an affair with my wife or whatever. And then the husband said, why don't you come over here and we'll duke it out. And legend goes that they were drunk on bootleg liquor, because this was kind of the Prohibition period. It's like 20s and 30s period. There was a lot of bootleg liquor. So they had this big fight, fisticuffs. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
50s?
Fisticuffs, yeah.
And they had this big fight, and then the husband was put to bed by the maid, and he mumbled some nonchalant thing like, whoa, that was quite a day, or whatever. 3 days later, died of internal injuries. Paul Kelly and this woman both go to jail. They write each other love letters. They both get out of jail and marry. He went on to do 40 more movies. It didn't even make a dent in his career in terms of his popularity. And she ended up dying in her 40s from a freak accident driving on Mulholland Road in a car accident. And pretty fascinating. It's also been documented in Hollywood Babylon.
What the heck?
Kenneth Anger.
I mean, that's, those kinds of things where you just happen to go to that specific bookstore. You could have gone to any other coffee shop. They happen to have that particular book right there. You happen to be thumbing through bam, there's your house, and then it answers this question that you don't expect anybody to answer for you. And it's going, here's your answer. I mean, that's astounding.
No wonder he was. Well, look. Okay, so we were talking about ghosts and how they die in this state. So that's the state he was in. He was angry. He was upset, and he, wasn't expecting to die. If he really thought he was hurt, he would have gone to the hospital. Where he just told he mumbled something nonchalant, something casual to the maid, and went to sleep. He never expected to die. A lot of spirits who get trapped here don't know they're dead. So that if they don't expect it, or it was the trauma they don't want to let something go because, or they don't realize they're dead. It was so traumatic. It was so sudden. They don't realize that they died, so they don't know where to go to. A lot of people have near-death experiences, say, in the hospital. They'll be walking around talking to nurses and things and like, why isn't anybody listening to me? Why isn't anybody paying attention to me? They don't understand that they're dead. So that's the problem there. Now, this is very interesting. You should say this because I was just thinking about this the other day. If we are incomplete with something in our lives, this can lead to being a ghost. Like some people don't want to, there's something they're incomplete about or they're not at peace with, so they can't pass on. And one of the big components about what I teach people through the AOM system is how to be complete at all times. Okay? So not only are you consistently every minute of the day, because you're complete, feeling satisfaction, fulfillment, and peace regardless of anything that's going on as this fluid life continues to turn and unfold, but you don't have to worry about becoming a ghost.
You don't have to worry about becoming a ghost.
You have to worry. Because you're going to have that peace and you're going to be able to move on and let go. And because there's nothing, when you're feeling peaceful and you're satisfied and you're fulfilled, there's nothing to let go of. I mean, hold on to. There's no fear. We hold on to stuff out of fear. So if you're not feeling any fear, then you're totally free. That's what my clients love. They go, you know what? I don't even fear death, let alone have daily fears. I don't even have fears anymore.
Incredible.
And they just like have these explosive, amazing lives. You'd think because their life is so amazing and so cool that they would fear death, because they'd be like, oh, I don't want this to end. It doesn't work like that. That's the irony. And you're able to create more and you live longer. Hey, what a concept.
Hey.
It's true.
God, that's great.
We got it all backwards, folks. We were handed a bad bill of deals.
Wow. Someday we're going to be able to clone more and more, teachers who have this kind of mindset and just kind of sneak them into the school system. Oh, I wish I thought there was someone who might have been calling me. So Blythe, I want to ask you, what is the most recent synchronicity that happened to you where you were like, this is amazing?
So, here's something funny. Even just now listening to you. So last night, I stayed at my friend's place because it's closer to here, and I was like, it's going to take so long to Uber here in the morning, like all this stuff. So my friend was listening to a documentary on the Prohibition, and I was like trying to go to sleep, and I was listening to it, and I'm like, I feel like this is because, I'm listening to this as I'm going to sleep. This is going to like come into my life in some like weird kind of way.
Oh my God.
And then you just mentioned that whole like Prohibition era story.
Oh man.
And I'm like, that is so funny, because I literally had the thought, I'm like, I wonder how this documentary that I'm literally not trying to listen to in the middle of the night while I'm trying to go to sleep because I have an interview in the morning, how that's going to influence my life and my day. And so
how beautiful.
That is so funny.
What a gift. Like, how awesome is that? How awesome is that? The answer solves the question. It's great. It's so crazy. I love how that happens. You're wondering, how's this all going to play into it? God. Sometimes I like to think about, if I were to pull back and look at all this whole observation of what's going on, I could just see, like one of those diagrams where people put the big conspiracy theory up on the wall, and they got all the things that are connected. Like, I see that, going on with these things, and the way that the Venn diagrams happen. God, I love this. This is just... Because then, who knows, after more of these conversations that we've had, who knows how then, what even more crazy synchronicities are going to happen to us throughout the day and throughout the week, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nicholas, you know what? Let me ask you, what's the most recent synchronicity that you had, and or something that might relate to what these ladies are talking about?
Absolutely. Well, I live in a building that was built in 1926, 6th and Spring, and I had a spirit touch my foot, like move things, like everything would be missing, And then I had to like do research myself, and I mean, I didn't get the full-fledged story, but a lot of stuff's happened in that building.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Do you live there now?
Yeah. But I made peace. I made peace. I was like, hey, I'm not trying to mess up your life.
How has it been since you started?
Way better. Way better. Yeah.
What was it doing before?
It would, like, I'd be in my bed and like I'd feel something touch the back of my foot when my foot's in the air. Like I'm like laying down.
Were there any like cabinets or records being right from some people's faces?
Not so much that, but like, you know, like I think it would like get into my dog's head a lot, and my dog would act crazy and
That's right, because the animals, they got those senses.
Yeah, and I mean, it was nothing too extreme, but it was like noticeable. And I was telling people like, okay.
What did the dog do?
He would just get really agitated out of nowhere, and like I wonder if that was part of it. But.
What'd you do when that ghost grabbed your foot?
Yeah, what did you do?
I was just like, hey. Hello?
Let go my ego.
Yeah, and then like like I'll like recycle my like large water bottles, and they'll just get knocked over randomly, and I mean it's mild, but it's enough for me to be like
Still something, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Did you hear noises and stuff in the dark? They'd be like, hey, what's that? What's going on?
I would hear like movement every now and then, but I mean nothing too extreme. Just like touching the back of my foot, the water bottles, my dog.
And then at some point you go, okay, there's an otherworldly creature here that's.
I mean, yeah, and sometimes I feel silly for making that leap, but it felt like
male or female.
Yeah.
What was it? Male or female? What do you think?
I don't know. I didn't like really contact anything, but I was just like putting it out there that my intention was good. So.
Oh, so you were letting it know, like, hey,
yeah.
I'm on your
It's like,
side.
hey, just chill. I'm being chill. I can live in peace. You want that side of the room? How I don't know. I mean, it's still kind of ongoing, but nothing terrible's happened since.
That would be so
ongoing in what way?
Well,
How has it changed
I did
since
feel
you made
kind of
peace?
well. Actually, there is a little bit more to this. It was right after the foot thing, the water bottle thing. I did feel pressed one night, like something was pressing on my side, but I don't know. It feels I didn't really prepare to talk.
Did
about
it crawl
this.
into bed with you and cuddle you? Because it happens.
Maybe.
It happens.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just felt like a presence on me, and it kind of freaked me out that night. But I let it go,
As one could imagine.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's pretty bizarre. But yeah, no, that's my story.
I love that show, Celebrity Ghost Stories. Have you ever watched that?
Oh.
Where the celebrities to talk about their ghost stories and things like that, experiences. It's really fascinating. You can watch it. I think it's on I've been watching it on Tubi.
Yeah, I mean, in the neighborhood, it makes sense for something to be there too, because so much happens every day outside. It's a lot of bad stuff in my neighborhood, but I mean that's downtown LA. I mean, all the stories. I can't imagine what's happened there.
There's a lot of dark energy.
Yeah,
down there.
It felt kind of wild for a little bit, but I let it go, and it's fine now. So.
How does one look up that information? What do you look for? Do you say haunted? Look, is my house? There must be some website out there that goes, okay, here's all the stuff in Los Angeles where there's.
Yeah.
How do you know if your house is haunted? What are you asking?
Like a haunted directory?
You had to read that book to let you realize what the heck happened in your house. How does one who doesn't?
Oh, you can research. Yeah,
I mean, I just lit some incense and kind of. I don't know if that stuff helps, but
to find out what it was. Yeah. Well, they did on the Rescue Mediums. We were talking about that show. Where Allison's going to be doing those retreats with me. What I love about the show is that before they go to the location, they get all this psychic information. They write it all down. Then they go to the owners of the home and they say, "Look, don't tell us anything, but we're just going to tell you what we're getting." And then they say a list of things, and people go, "Yep, that's correct. Yep, that's correct. Yep." And then they stay in the space, and then they get more information, like, I'm John, and drowning, I feel like I'm choking, and there's something on the side, I'm feeling pain on the side. Stuff like that. They gather more information there and make contact with the spirit that's trapped, and then are able to get on that frequency, communicate with it, and say, look, you need to move on. This is, you're no longer, go here to the light. And then the owners of the house come back in and they go, oh my God, like the energy is so changed. It's noticeable right away. My son or my daughter, will now sleep in their room without disturbance, or they haven't slept there for 2 years and now they sleep peacefully and everything. The energy is completely changed. And what they do with the production and, the crew, the team, whoever of the show, they go and they research what has happened.
Oh, I love
in
it. So
that
after they
area.
already got their certain vibes, then they research it.
Then they sit down
That's
with
great.
the owners of the house and they go, okay, we had gotten John and we had gotten this, and they go, and there was a John, Smith who lived here, who died of an appendicitis attack, and had a nearly drowned prior to that, whatever, and they piece everything together, and they're able to tell you everything. And so now they really understood the whole story. It's really fascinating. That's why that show is really cool, because it not only shows how it works, but it really kind of answers all those sort of questions that you would have, and I love that. It's unlike a lot of other shows out there, so it's very whole and complete, and you really, the skepticism, the skeptic in you gets to watch this program and go, okay, wait a minute. It's like you got these witnesses, the people that live there. You've got like this information that was gathered prior. Then you've got this historical information backing everything up. It's great for skeptics.
Incredible. Incredible. Now, Blythe, if you were creating music in the studio, and then you played it back and suddenly you heard some EVP kind of otherworldly, voices or harmonies in there that you totally did not put in there, would you keep them in there?
I might be kind of freaked out if that happened, because so me and my old friend group, we actually used to go out and go ghost hunting, and we had one of those machines.
Oh yeah, it shows the little the
it like scans through radio frequencies, and we heard like screams. Like we've heard the craziest things. Like I was super freaked out by it. We used to go ghost hunting fairly often, and I don't know, after hearing, I'm pretty sure it was like a lady saying "help me." Yeah, it was pretty disturbing.
You heard this on his device, or what?
Yes.
Was it through a radio?
So it was this machine that scans through radio stations. So if you hear something that's, if you hear something that sounds like a sentence or phrase, you know that it's real, because it's scanning through so many radio stations that it can't just put those words together. One of my friends, she had a boyfriend who bought her one of these machines for her birthday present. We're like, okay, let's go out and like see, what's out there. We went under the Suicide Bridge in Pasadena and heard some weird stuff.
Did you record any of this stuff? Did you have any way of?
I don't think we recorded it. But at the end of the night,
where did you hear it?
Through the machine that he had gotten her, and it was just kind of disturbing. And I think that was the last time that I went ghost hunting. It might have been either that or the time that we decided to go to the Enchanted Forest in Pasadena in the middle of the night, and we came face to face with a mountain lion, and we realized, wait, this is not the best idea.
Oh my gosh.
We were really young at the time. We didn't realize, but literally came face to face with a mountain lion. We had to like walk back, like tread back slowly.
And it just was just staring at you as you're walking backwards. Yep. You go, oh.
Yeah.
That is terrifying. I'm feeling the shivers just thinking about that. Oh man. Yep. That's crazy.
Yeah, it turns out the living was more terrifying than the dead.
Wow.
That specific night.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. It's interesting. I was looking online. There's this thing called Phasmabox, and it's an app you can have on your phone. And I think it does that. I think it scans through radio signals, and what it does is it'll like it has like a little dictionary in there or something. So it'll show you the words that it picks up through the thing. And now I don't know if there's certainly there's got to be some way to record it. You could see some of these YouTube videos where people visit like the graves of their friends and stuff, and they, you know, try to get stuff out of it, and that stuff just fascinates me. And just thinking, how does all that work together? You know, this would be interesting. This just popped in my brain. Would there be a way to communicate with a spirit and help them adjust their attitude where you could actually collaborate with them? Like, would that be a mean thing if you didn't send them off? Like, if you were like, let's be partners here. Like, let's work together collectively. Let's use what you know from the other realm and what I know in this realm.
Oh, there's some theories that say that, and this is just a theory. I don't subscribe to any opinion, but some of them say that you should let them move on to the next plane, to where they are. They really shouldn't be here any longer. This is not a place for them. So that's having said that, I did have an interesting experience, because you're talking about that collaboration with people that you've known or communicating. And I had a friend who passed away. He was a writer for Mojo magazine. It was a British publication for music. And he passed away. He was 33 of a brain tumor, and I went to his memorial. When I came home back to my place, my friend, she came over, and I told her about the memorial, and she wasn't able to attend, but she was sitting on the edge of my bed, and I was sitting with my back towards the wall, or at the front of the bed, and she was reading the memorial out loud and talking to him, you know, like, hey, Ben, I really wish I could have been there, and you were such a wonderful person and so incredible to know, and she's kind of talking like that. And I'm sitting there watching this smoke come from her backside, and it's just curling and coming behind her, but I did not see. That's the thing. I didn't like react the way you would think, like, oh my God, what's that? Or be alarmed in any way. Instead, I was looking at it in fascination, with a knowing that there was something natural and normal about it. And that's what I've always experienced whenever I've had ghostly encounters. You would think you'd be scared or alarmed, or it'd be shocking or jolting in some kind of way, but instead you just know that there's nothing unusual or strange actually going on. So this smoke is billowing up, and there's all this glitter. There's silver glitter in the smoke. Now, here's the interesting part. I wasn't saying a word. I was just looking at it in a fascinating way. And it suddenly curls up and comes in front of, you know, travels in front of my friend's face. And she saw it, and she jumped up and ran across the room and sat on the couch and was quiet for about 5 or 10 seconds, and then said, I think we just had a visitation. And I go, yeah, I know we did, because we both saw the same. She told me too. She goes, I saw this smoke and glitter, and I did too. So I knew that I didn't imagine it. You know, it wasn't an imagination at all. It was a reality, and it was him coming to say hello or goodbye, either way. And yeah, but you know, when my grandfather was passing away from cancer, and he was living in the Palmdale area, and I was visiting him, and he was 1 foot here and 1 foot over there, basically transitioning. And I remember stroking his hair and telling him how grateful I was for having him as a grandfather, and how wonderful he was, and what a great job he did. And I was crying, and I was just sobbing uncontrollably. I was not expecting his death. I had just visited him with my mother 2 weeks ago prior to that, and I didn't realize how sick he was. So I was very much sobbing uncontrollably. Suddenly I feel all these hands on my back. My back was covered with hands. They were angels, they were spirits, they were something. But I had all these hands on my back, and suddenly I felt that everything's okay. This is natural, this is normal, there's nothing wrong. Everything is at peace and at rest and in alignment and perfect. And that's what I got from those hands on my back. And there was nobody in the room, but they were so unmistakable. Those hands covering my back, unmistakable. And the transformation that occurred from that, it was absolutely undeniable. It was incredible, so there's nothing unusual about it. I lived in another haunted house, and my neighbor who lived, it's kind of like a duplex sort of place, and I asked him, did you ever have experiences? Because I am. And he said, oh yeah, one time I woke up and this guy's like saying my name, he's wearing all denim and standing at the corner of my bed. And I said, oh my God, did you not scream and want to run out? And he goes, no. See, that's what I'm talking about. You think you're going to be so freaked out and run out. But instead, he said, I'm just kind of annoyed. And I kind of like turned over on my side and was thinking, I hope you'd go away. It was more just sort of, that kind of reaction.
Wow.
Yeah. Can I go back to sleep now?
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting, huh? So yeah, I don't know what the moral of the story is, but
it's out there.
Yeah,
and
right?
It's in here,
But I think the moral of the story is we're all energy, okay? And just because we don't have our clothes, our earthly, perishable body that's made up of ingredients you can find at a hardware store, just because we don't have that doesn't mean we don't exist. And really, our bodies really are like clothes. If we took our clothes off, does that mean, hey, I don't exist anymore? Absolutely not. It's just a covering. And it's not even a vessel that contains, because energy is omnipresent and can travel anywhere at any time. It is limitless. And the more that we realize that, and the more that we relate to ourselves as energy, the more life will make sense, and the more limitless we will live our lives. So, and that's the reason why dead people and sleeping people look very different. Right?
Is it time to shut down the time, right? 2:30? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we could. Okay, great. Okay, we're gonna play a song here. This is a guy I promised I'd play a song on the radio. He's friends with a family friend, and she asked if I wouldn't mind playing his song. So this guy, his song is called Stargazing, which is great because you got a song called Stars, right? Yes. This is called Stargazing, and his name is Dyllan Bernard, but he goes by Gray. So here is Stargazing by Gray. That was Stargazing by Gray. So Sterling has to skedaddle. Having said that, I want her to be able to give you little giblets of cosmic information before she leaves.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to master the manifestation process, feel free to call me for a free consultation, a half-hour free consultation, and find out if it's something that you're ready for. Is it right for you? Of course it is, because you're a human being, and you have every right to, it's your birthright to master the manifestation process, because guess what? You're a creative being, and guess what? Life is a series of creations and experiencing those creations. And guess what? If you can guarantee your experiences are going to be awesome and exactly what you want if you know how to create intentionally and consciously. So, yeah, call me.
Yeah, get a hold of her so then you could be one of the lucky few golden ticket winners for the retreat. GetYourLifeNow.com. Thank you, Sterling, for coming by.
Bye.
So I just think this is absolutely miraculous that you had this documentary last night about the Prohibition. Here, this story comes out of here.
That's the funniest thing, because I was literally thinking, just listening to this documentary against my will while I was trying to go to sleep. I'm like, I wonder what this is going to bring into my life, because I know that all these things, especially as you're going to sleep, because that puts you, your brain in just a different state where it's really receptive. So I knew that something from that was going to manifest, and it did. So that's really funny. I just love how it works, and it's one of my favorite things ever to talk. It's my preferable thing to talk about, subject to talk about. My utopian dream is this is just a piece of it, but to have conversations like this all day long. And can you just imagine how enlightened you'd feel as you're walking through each and every single day? Just how enlightened you'd feel, and how just. If imagine if these were the kinds of conversations that were going on on the buses, on the subways, on the street corners while they're waiting to cross the street. Parents talking to their children about this, about how to manifest. Oh my God, could you imagine that? How awesome that would be. And it would be a world full of so much abundance, because people wouldn't have those same kinds of limitations. And it would just be, I think it would end so many of the world's problems.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because we don't need all of this disharmony. We really don't. And once we, really understand that for ourselves and realize that, peace and joy is the vibration to live in, it really changes everything.
It really does. It's interesting when you're able to transform that idea of us versus them. There's so little out there. It's competition. I got to beat out these people. Oh my God, it takes so much energy to worry about that. When you're in that competition mindset all the time, like, okay, who's going to try to beat me out of the park? Okay, who's going to try to, oh my God. Could you imagine that? That's why people get wrinkles so fast, and and their hair turns gray so fast. There's all that stress. But if it was just straight out of the gate talk,
none of
cooperation,
us have any wrinkles.
abundance.
We really don't.
I mean, it's nuts. It's crazy. I think the youthful, when you're youthful at heart, there's quite a difference there in how everything is affected. Having said that, I'm gonna play Crystal Clear.
Awesome.
And I don't think I've ever played this one on the radio before, so we're gonna play Crystal Clear by Blythe Baines. You'll see her at the what music ceremony is it? Is it the not Emmys? No, it's a Grammys. Look for Blythe Baines. You're listening to this in the future, so you already have seen her on the Grammys. So here we go.
Baby, I can see the future. It's written out in the stars. If you let me look into you, I'll tell you who you are. Baby, what's your sign? What's your number? Wake up, you've been out and say the eyes are the windows, let it take you straight where the wind blows. Wanna get lost, then let's go. Wanna get lost, then let's go. Baby, I can see the future. It's written out in the stars. If you let me look into you, I'll tell you who you are. All these crazy things, all these crazy things. Far as the eye can see, I can see, I can see it. Like it's here, crystal clear, crystal clear. Baby, now just try to remember. Try to light a fire from the embers that you've got. That you've got, that you've got. It's a funny thing, our memories, they never seem to show us all. I could take you back to the first time. I can take you straight to the next life. You could say the eyes are the windows, let it take you straight where the wind blows. Wanna get lost, then let's go. Wanna get lost, then let's go. Baby, I can see the future. It's written out in the stars. If you let me look into you, I'll tell you who you are. All these great things, all these crazy things. Far as the eye can see, I can see, I can see it. Like it's here, crystal clear, crystal clear.
Oh,
You
thank
just
you.
heard Crystal Clear by Blythe Baines. You know, it's so interesting. This was a synchronicity, and I don't even remember if I even put it on the podcast. So you're hearing it right now for the first time. When I came out of the Yachtly Cruise Show, we played at the Viper Room on Friday, and we were all breaking down the equipment and all this stuff, and I just happened to see these people with their captain's hats standing on the corner about to cross. And I just ran up to them to thank them for coming out to the show. And I'm looking at this girl. So there's a girl and this guy. I go, thank you two for coming out to the show. And she turns, because I just saw her the side view, and she turns, and I'm like, wait, I know you. And it was a woman I was in Black Pumpkin with. And I'm like, what? How did you hear about this show? Wait, did you know I was in this show? And she's like, no, I didn't even know you were even in this band. You know, I just happened to be here because one of my friends just happened to mention this thing. And I'm like, what the heck? This is crazy that here you are. I mean, it's amazing how this stuff, how it all Venn diagrams. Then when I was at the show too, there's a guy who's sitting in a booth. Okay, let's see. Let me think of the intertwinings of this. There are 3 or 4 of these intertwinings. So there's this little Asian guy who's on Two Broke Girls, which I never saw that show, but I guess he was like the owner of this thing. It turns out that he had seen us play before at the Viper Room, and it turns out that our drummer is also a locksmith. He's got a job as a locksmith. So he one of his clients was this guy, and so our drummer, just handed him a postcard. He goes, "You're in Yachtly Crew. I just saw you guys, and at the Starlight Bowl. That's what it was. I just saw you guys at the Starlight Bowl." And we're like, this is so freaking crazy. So it turns out within that booth, that guy who's on the TV show happened to be friends with a guy that I had met through another friend of mine long ago, and he already planned out to come see the show. He had no idea I was in this band. I mean, there were just stacks and stacks of these synchronicities that were just piling up. And and when you're excited like that, we've talked about this before, when you're excited about it, it just keeps inviting it in, inviting it in. It just keeps going, oh, you like that, huh? Okay, well, here. Yeah. And then it inspires you to give them more curveballs. You're like, okay, let's see you do this one. Yeah, hit that one out of the park. And sure enough, every time, and you just go, wow. And then it just inspires you more and more to think of even crazier ideas. Because especially if you think about it in that sense that you were talking about earlier about not placing something on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And just treating like, okay, well, I manifested the cup of coffee. I'm manifesting, million downloads for my song, or whatever it may be.
I really think that thinking of it as like setting a spot in a GPS is like a great way to do it. Because, when you set like a location in a GPS, you're not wondering like, am I going to get there? You're saying, okay, now I'm letting the GPS direct me, and that's the soul. I'm letting the soul now direct me to where I'm supposed to be, the intention that I have set.
And especially if you've formed a relationship with it in such a way where it's a partnership, like, hey, we're working together here, we're cooperating together, and I know that you appreciate the love I've been giving you, and you know that I appreciate the love and it's this beautiful reciprocation thing. It's like, why would either one of us want to break that off?
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's so great because then you're going, you know what? Let's put it in the GPS. You just go ahead and take care of that. I'll let you figure out how you're going to surprise me with all this crazy stuff. Because I think, it's so interesting. I think once I started treating my relationship with the universe like I treat it with my friends, the golden rule, the cooperation, the reciprocation kind of aspect, and I started treating it like that, then it was, okay, we're working together in this thing. And don't you forget it, we're working together in this thing. So, just as a friend might like to set up a surprise birthday party for you, well, guess who else might like to do that? Universe.
Yep.
In setting up these crazy circumstances for you. Because, my gosh, if humans can do it, certainly the universe could do it because the universe made us. I was just thinking on the way here about, just that idea about how every single thing has a consciousness, about how every single thing has its life, and especially if we keep playing with that idea of past lives and all that jazz, then this is a lesson that's something someone or something is learning right now, and then who knows what the next thing it'll become. Like in that Dolores Cannon book, she when she takes these people through their past life regressions, there are stories in there where someone is one of the beginning molecules of making the ocean on the earth. There's another one where they're the molecules of what's helping form the atmosphere. There's one where they're a hawk and they can see, and they know how they're seeing through the hawk's eyes. There's another one where they go, wow, I'm a rock, and boy, is this a long life sitting here. A long, patient life. And so it's really interesting when you think about that. And then when you continue just playfully working with that imagination, just sculpting it into existence, my gosh.
Yeah, and as long as you're doing it with the vibration of like, this is fun, I'm having a good time, then it really does produce that kind of a result. So you gotta have fun with it, never get stressed out over manifesting anything, just have fun with it. Yeah.
Before we go, oh gosh, we went over a little bit here, but before we go, let me ask you, Nick, what would you say are some of the most recent manifestations that perhaps you have experienced that you can just kind of think of off the top of your head?
Synchronicities. I mean, that was pretty recent, the whole what just happened right now.
That's true.
Yeah, that one's pretty strong.
Wow.
Because I was actually
I was here to witness it.
gonna bring my pendant in my pocket with me today, but I was just.
You were gonna bring that pendant. You were gonna bring that with you.
Yeah, well, mine's like bone and it's like sketched in or something. But yeah, I had it next to my like stuff, but I just spaced out.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, no, I mean, there's that, and then I mean, it's not really a synchronicity, but I was trying to buy a singing bowl for like the past few months.
I'm doing what for the past few months?
I was trying to buy a singing bowl, a Tibetan singing bowl, and the guy that I go to was like, no, you can't buy these. And I'm just like, why? He's like, well, they're not.
You can't buy these.
He wanted me to have a really special sounding one, so he went to Nepal, got me this singing bowl. I finally have it, and it's like, it's doing its thing. So yeah.
Feeling its healing?
Oh yeah, no, it's really lightened the space up from when that spirit was there. But yeah, it's. I mean, that's about. I'm stretching here, but yeah.
No, that's fantastic. I'm just happy when you get a chance to, when you feel comfortable enough, or you're willing to just jump right into sharing any of your wisdom, because you got so much. You got so much that that's why it's also great. Like even if guests aren't able to show up to the show, I know you'll be here, and we're gonna have an amazing conversation because of all the crazy stuff that you know.
Didn't have my coffee today. Excuses.
That's all right. That's all right. All right, folks. So we're gonna bust out of here. We're gonna bust out of here, and so Blythe, are there any parting words that maybe you'd like to?
Just thanks for listening. Hope you guys have a great day. If you want to find me on Instagram, I'm at Blythe Baines, BlytheBaines. Keep listening to this show because it's awesome, and you guys talk about such amazing things, and I love that. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, folks. With that, we are going to send you off with the official Inspirado Projecto bookend here, and we'll see you next time.
You're listening to Inspirado Projecto and KCHUNG Radio.